The French upper house, Senate, has approved the controversial pension reform as thousands of people continue to protest against the bill across France. The French Senate, dominated by the Conservatives, approved the reform by 193 votes to 114 votes. A member of the left-wing Socialist Party, while opposing the bill, said the Emmanuel Macron government is constantly breaking the party.
Nous ne voulons pas des 64 ans, parce que ces 64 ans vont pénaliser ceux qui travaillent depuis longtemps, donc ceux qui ont les métiers les plus difficiles et ceux qui perçoivent les salaires les moins élevés. Comment allez-vous réparer ce pays que vous êtes en train durablement de fracturer?
However, the battle for the French president is far from over as he expects a tough vote later today in the lower house of the National Assembly, as the margin in the lower house is thinner. According to experts, a loss in the lower house would be humiliating for Emmanuel Macron. From trains, schools, public services, sports, nearly every sector has been impacted by these strikes in France. On the 7th of March, an estimated 1.28 million people hit the streets across the country. In Paris, the city known for its aroma of good food and perfumes, it's now filled with the stinking smell of garbage. Sanitation workers in Paris are on strike, and more than 7,000 tons of uncollected trash has piled up on the streets. This is, in fact, something that is impacting the daily life of Parisians, and the strike has been extended till Monday. Now, according to the city police chief, the French government is expected to use its power. This means the government is going to force the workers to work under the threat of prosecution. According to opinion polls, 2/3 of the French people oppose the pension reform and support the protest movement. For more on this, we're now joined by our correspondent Ross Cullen from Paris. Ross, it is very clear that Emmanuel Macron remains unfazed even in the face of these relentless protests that are taking place across the country and the strikes. But what does it look like for him, given that this controversial legislation is going to be put to a vote in the lower house?
Yes, there are three options for what could be taking place this afternoon French time. The vote could fail if the bill to reform France's pension system is rejected. That would be a disaster for the government and could well see Prime Minister Elizabeth Borne considering her position. The vote could pass, but as you point out, it's tricky when you look at the parliamentary mathematics for Emmanuel Macron's party. They're the biggest party in Parliament, but they do not have a majority of MPs, and so they're going to be looking perhaps to the centre-right Republicans, leaning on support from their opposition to try to get this legislation through Parliament. When it comes to the third option, there is the so-called nuclear option, which is 49.3, a special constitutional instrument the government could use to bypass a vote altogether, but that would be highly controversial. Although it is constitutional, it is allowed, and it has been used by the government in the past. But it's cleared the first hurdle, the Senate, this morning French time, and this afternoon going to a decisive vote before MPs.
All right, Ross Cullen, thanks for giving us that update.